Now I haven't done one of these types of videos before. So this is really like my first foray into this sort of thing because I just wanted to kind of get some thoughts out there, right? Okay, first and foremost, um, great, great announcement. Like it's well, great that they announced it, right? Because I think deep down we were all kind of expecting it to go down this route. We were expecting them to announce a Zelda movie at some point in the future, considering the success of the Mario movie, right? So that was a given. That was a given. As far as the announcement itself, it's pretty funny. It's just a Twitter post. It's really nothing special. It wasn't anything from a direct. But then again, when you think about it, the Mario movie was, I believe, originally announced via, um, like um, like through a shareholders briefing or something like that, like a meeting. So it wasn't exactly announced in in a very formal or fan centric kind of way, like during a direct. There were certain aspects of the Mario movie that were announced during the direct, like the casting, which I kind of expect to happen with the Zelda movie as well. But regardless, I I'm not surprised by the way they announced this. I know some people have kind of felt like, oh, it could have been announced in a better way, and absolutely, it could have been announced in a better way. I think we would have all preferred that, but no, this is completely expected after how they initially announced the Mario movie. That is because it was just such a basic thing the way they announced it way back in, I don't know what year it was, like 2016 or something like that. But it was announced in a very basic way. It wasn't announced via if it was announced via Twitter, again, it's either way, it's the same thing. It's the same way. In terms of the movie itself, yeah, it's a Zelda movie. It's happening. It is officially happening, and it is being produced by none other than Sony Pictures. Now, Sony is Sony, right? But within Sony there are different divisions, like the PlayStation brand and the movie distribution part are completely separate from each other. So they're really with very little overlap. There's very little overlap between the two. So I don't think that in terms of the competition or whatever, you could argue, okay, well, Nintendo is giving Sony themselves, the corporation itself, money, but that's not really, it doesn't really matter as much as I think people are making it out to be. And it's not, and again, we can put aside the whole competition thing. It's just a whatever thing. Let's just focus on the movie. It's the movie itself, which is being produced by Sony Pictures, and they have an interesting track record. I would say it's a very interesting track record. It's not perfect. They have produced some great, very, very great films, like the Spider-Verse films, the live-action Spider-Man films, particularly the last three. But like and of course a few pretty good animated films as well, like there's also that one about the robots, the family and the robots. I forgot what it's called, but I'm sure you guys know what it is. Yeah, so they have produced some great films, like, don't get me wrong about that. I'm still concerned, and as someone who was actually, I look back at the Mario movie and when it was initially announced, and I think one of the very, very few people that were, and this is not me gloating. I'm not saying like, oh, I was right the whole time. No, I had my concerns still, like to some extent, but overall, I was feeling very positive about the film from the moment it was announced. I'll say that again. I had my concerns like the rest of you, but I overall I still felt like, okay, this could still turn out pretty good. Illumination has not made. I'm not counting Hop. I'm not counting Hop because that's a live action CGI hybrid. They only help with the CGI. That's not actually Illumination's film in many ways. But as far as the actual fully animated Illumination films, there hasn't been a single one that flopped and that was critically panned or bad in any way, right? The lowest I think is still above 50 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is crazy. So yeah, I don't think, like, when I heard about Illumination, I was like, okay, it's very Nintendo because it's such a safe bet in many ways. Not that they always make safe decisions, but as far as this, like their first foray in years in terms of movie making, you would be forgiven to expect them to to go the safe route, right? So, and that's what they did. They're like, Illumination has a decent track record. At the very least, their movies are like, are okay at the very least. They've never made an actual bad animated film. Sony is interesting. Sony is very, very interesting because it's a very interesting choice that Nintendo made with Sony. And I don't, there are certain aspects that I'm like, okay, this makes sense, and there are certain things that I think just don't. One of those things is, of course, the track record isn't great with Sony either, especially in recent years. Like, there's no denying they produce some good stuff, and there's no movie distribution company or studio or whatever has a perfect track record. There's no such thing. I get that. Avi Arad, he has a spotty track record, but he has produced some good stuff. No denying that. Spider-Verse films are fantastic. Academy Award nominated, or I think. I don't follow the award stuff, so, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read somewhere. So yeah. I'm sounding like I don't do any research at all. Because I'm like, I think. No, this is from recollection, also because I want to vent. I just want to vent a little bit. I genuinely do not understand. Like, it's tough for me to comprehend why Nintendo wants to. Okay, I'm segueing into a slightly different topic, right? Let's talk about the Smash Brothers connection real quick. Now, this is neither here nor there, like, when it comes to my worries. Like, this doesn't matter. What matters is the movie going to be good or not? That's what matters. I don't care as much about a potential Smash Brothers connection. Well, I care, but I don't. It's not the reason why I'm wary. It's not the reason why I'm somewhat worried. It's not. But I do want to talk about it because it's very interesting. So, like, the Smash Brothers connection. Nintendo is now divvying up. They are putting their different IPs to different movie distribution companies. So, Pokemon Detective Pikachu is with Warner Brothers. That's the start. Now, Mario is with Universal. And then now, instead of putting their eggs into one basket, which could be a good and a bad in many ways, right? But in many ways, it would also make things easier. But Nintendo wants to divvy everything up, and now they're giving Zelda to Sony Pictures. So now you have 3 different movie distribution companies with access to 3 different Nintendo IP. Now, maybe this is something Nintendo wants. Maybe this is their strategy. In case something goes sour, let's say with Universal, let's say something goes sour and plans fall through, whatever, then at least they have the other companies to fall back on. I mean, Mario would still be left with Universal, so I don't know how they're going to deal with that. I don't know the details of the contract or what's the inner workings there, but I'm pretty sure that IP, as far as movie making, filmmaking, goes to Universal for Mario. But nonetheless, maybe that's one of their strategies. If something falls through, something doesn't work out, they can fall back on a different company to potentially distribute another Nintendo IP, because now that they've established that connection with that distribution company, now they can be like, okay, well, we like Sony Pictures, they made a great Zelda movie, let's continue with them. Things are going sour with Universal and Warner Brothers, let's continue with Sony. Or maybe, yeah, whatever. It's hard to say what Nintendo's thinking, but they are divvying up all of their IPs amongst different studios. So they are not putting their eggs into one basket, which means a Smash Brothers movie will be much harder to develop. It will be quite a collaboration. Now, I will say, if it were to happen, it would be historic. It would be historic if they managed to get, like, 3 different movie studios, distribution companies, all to work together to make one film. That would be historic. It would be amazing. But it seems more and more likely that that's not in the cards. That Nintendo is not thinking about the long game when it comes to Smash Brothers, a potential Smash Brothers build-up. It's not going to happen. I don't see it happening. So we can throw that out the door, I think, for now. Maybe somewhere down the line, but again, I just decided to bring that up. I'm a little disappointed, but it's not the reason why, like, I'm making this video. It's not the reason why I'm worried about the movie. And overall, to answer that question, am I worried about the Zelda movie? Is that going to be the title of this video? I don't know. A little bit, but at the same time, I'm still optimistic because Nintendo is heavily involved. So I will say that. I'm leaning in the middle, but more so towards optimism. So I'm still slightly more on the optimistic side that this could turn out quite good. Okay, last little bit of the video here. Let's talk about the track record itself, right? We've already talked about the good movies that they've done. We've talked about the bad movies, but let's talk about specifically the track record in regards to video game adaptations at Sony Pictures, because this is something that I'm surprised. Like I've seen people talk about this, but I haven't, like I've seen people talk about the movies, like the good and the bad movies, like Sony Pictures and their track record, but I have yet to come across a YouTube video that talks about their track record in regards to video game adaptations, specifically Sony's own in-house IP. So let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about the Tom Holland Uncharted movie first of all, right? Tom Holland Uncharted movie, I think the critics' consensus, and even if you don't want to take the critics' consensus into account, let's talk about even just the general audience consensus. It's a decent film. It's kind of mixed. It's in the middle. Overall the reviews are mixed. People are overall a little more positive about it. But I think a lot of people can agree and admit it doesn't feel as Uncharted as it could have felt. It instead feels more like a ripoff of more successful, better action-adventure films that came before it. That's what it feels like. Now, I have not seen the movie myself. I'll just be for real. I have not seen the movie, so I can't judge for myself. I am going by online reactions. Now, by all accounts, again, it did not score very well on. Take it as it is. I mean, when you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, it's in the 40 percentile. It is it's a mix. It's a mixed bag. I'm not saying 40% is a bad score necessarily. I mean, for crying out loud, Super Mario Brothers movie is at the 59% as of now. So, and that's a movie that I think is better than a 59% would suggest. But the Uncharted film, yeah. So, and keep in mind, this is an in-house Sony IP. This is an in-house Sony IP. This is their own IP. And the Uncharted movie could have been better. It could have been more, I guess, quote-unquote, Uncharted, because it's just not, it doesn't feel as Uncharted as it could have felt. Again, that's what I've heard from people. Yeah, that's the Uncharted movie. Let's talk about what no one wants to talk about. Let's talk about the Ratchet and Clank animated film, also distributed by Sony Pictures. This film has been critically panned and it was financially unsuccessful. Again, an in-house Sony IP, or if not IP, I'm not 100% sure about the Sony thing here. It's at the very least a game that releases only on Sony platforms, PlayStation platforms, and look what the result is. This is Sony's own in-house, this is Sony in-house. And look how they treated this film. If this is how they're treating their own in-house video game adaptations, how much more can you expect from an outside company, from an outside IP? Now, for all I know, they may value outside IP far more than their own in-house IP. Uncharted is already making them a lot of dollars, right? Just from the video game alone. So do they really need to make a very, very successful, crazy film and stuff? It's like, yeah, I mean, why not? It's only in their favor if they did, but anyways, that's neither here nor there, whatever. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. I just wanted to bring up the video game adaptations that Sony has produced for as per their own IP. Sony has they have good films under their belt. They have proven that. So the Spider-Verse films are outstanding. the last three Tom Holland Spider-Man films are very good. There's a couple other films sprinkled here and there that were also pretty good too. They've made shit films, let's be real. They've made films that aren't too good. Avi Arad has been involved with some of those films, but he's also been involved with some major hits, you know? The original Iron Man is one of those as well. So there's that. This is not me like I don't want to really I don't want to say anything truly bad about an individual because, well, like all of us, we're all human, you know? Like, this is still a human being, so I don't want to talk about this guy like he's, you know, that he's some evil dude or whatever. Like, no, he's a movie producer. He produces movies, and, you know, and some of those movies were really great, and some of those movies were really bad. No one's perfect, so I'm willing to give this guy, at the end of the day, the benefit of the doubt. If he's been talking with Shigeru Miyamoto for as long as they have, then maybe something good can come out of it. Maybe they're both really feeling it. Maybe there's something cooking it's gonna be pretty great. Who knows? So only time will tell. But yeah, with that being said, thank you for listening to my ramblings. I don't usually do this. I don't know if I'll continue to do this, but yeah, it was fun. Thank you for listening. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.